So I have a problem I want to talk about. You see, just to give, it's not a huge problem, but to give you a few contexts, I really, really love stories. And not just like any stories, I love really, really long stories. I love getting into really long book franchises or movie franchises or movie series that can last weeks or even months of my life. Because I think it's fun. I like getting into all the different characters and waking up thinking about these places. But the problem is something very specific that happens every single time I get into these. See, I'll be in the middle of it, having a good time, all the birds are chirping and the sun is shining, and then suddenly I'll see this. Oh yeah, I know, it's terrible. The latter half of the book gets a little bit thin, or that last episode gets way too close. Seeing how close I am to the end of the series fills me with this terrible but familiar sense of dread and emptiness, where the thought of the story ending makes me so sad that all I could do is wish there was more. And I'll try and solve it. I'll go on the internet and search up other shows that are just like Game of Thrones. But none of the other vaguely similar medieval shows ever fulfill the hole in my heart that's left by Jon Snow in King's Landing. And this would happen every single time. I thought I was crazy. I bet some of you guys think that I'm crazy for this. Something must have been wrong with me for feeling this sad over a made-up TV show. But here's the thing. I bet some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Because a couple months ago, I took to the internet, and I realized people have been talking about this for years. There were gamers, there were TV fans, book watchers, and a lot of anime watchers talking about this same feeling, this strange emptiness that we would feel after finishing a long series. It was actually so common that people created a term for it. Book hangover, which is not formally defined anywhere, but it can be described as the feeling of sadness or loss after someone reaches the end of a piece of fiction. So even though to some of you it may sound a little weird that we're feeling this sad after the end of a show, even though it doesn't have a sad ending, this is a real feeling that a lot of us have experienced. And when I discovered this, not only was I relieved that I'm not alone in this feeling, but I was so fascinated. Because if this is happening to so many people, there must be a reason that this is going on. So I took to the internet again, and I wanted to figure out, why is this feeling being created, and how is it so strong? So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. Starting with the first cause of this, probably the most obvious one, which is the characters. Now, I'm a film and television student, so I've spent a couple years learning about story writing and storytelling. And through that, I've learned a couple rules that you have to follow when creating characters. For example, they have to have justifiable flaws, consistent speaking styles, and conceivable growth. And these are just a couple things that allow these characters to feel more real. And when writers are really, really good at this, these characters won't only be characters that just feel like real people, but to your brain, they will actually register as real people in your head. Now, fortunately, we have the brain power to logically differentiate real people from fake characters. Because obviously, Superman is on a screen and has superpowers, and Carl Holler goes to our high school and is probably somewhere in this room, there he is. But the thing is, the side of our brain that makes this kind of obvious and silly distinction, the logical part of our brain, is not the same part of our brain that forms emotional connections with people. So what this means is that when you reach the end of a piece of fiction, your logical brain may know that nothing's actually changing and nothing's happening to these make-believe characters. But the emotional side of your brain has been developing this new person, sometimes for even months of your life. So that when that story ends, it may feel to your brain as if it's losing something that felt like a real person, or maybe even felt like a real bond. Now for the less obvious cause of this, which actually relates to locations. Most TV shows or series will take place in a larger setting, like a town or a city. But they will only focus on a few important locations. To give you an example, you guys probably know the TV show Friends. And if you know this, you would know it takes place in New York City. That's where the characters live, and that's where everything happens. But those of you who actually have watched the TV show, you would know that we're only actually seeing 2 apartments and 1 cafe. That's it. That's where we spend most of our time. And writers know that it's important to do this for a couple of reasons. One is because it saves a bunch of money, but that's not important to you guys. But the important reason, story-wise, is that when you have a few locations that stay consistent, it taps into the side of your brain that needs to find a home. Now, I know it probably sounds a little weird to your logical brain that Chandler and Joey's apartment becomes a home to you, but you have to remember that the emotional brain isn't as good at figuring all that out. Because when you have a few places that stay consistent, that you return to periodically, and you can associate with good memories of real people that you know, then to the emotional brain, it may feel like a real place. So then, when that show ends, it may feel as if you're losing a home that your brain has gotten used to living in. Now, these two ideas explain so many of the weird effects of book hangover, like why this feeling can be as deep as losing a friend, or why watching something else or picking up another book will never fulfill that emptiness. Because it's not the plot or the genre that you're attached to. It's the people and it's the places that have felt real and you've become attached to. Now, fortunately for many of us, these feelings actually don't last too long. Because when you get to the end of a piece of fiction or a series, you'll usually distance yourself from it. And when you distance yourself from these characters and places, they'll no longer feel as real. That way, you'll be able to tackle those negative feelings that may have come when they were lost. And because of this, I feel like this could actually be seen as a good sign. When you feel book hangover after a series, it means you've experienced something that is meaningful enough to occupy your mind afterwards, which is okay. But through researching all of this and learning about these feelings from people, I did discover something that concerned me a little bit more. I found out that there are some people whose attachment to a fiction don't fade as quickly. Where instead of distancing themselves from a show after finishing it in order to reduce their attachment, they'll instead just continue consuming it over and over again in order to prevent the feeling of loss from ever arriving. And in this, something is created, not a temporary feeling or phase. This is how the comfort show is created. Now, I know this is not the case for everybody, and I know not everyone's comfort show is like this, but there are some people whose attachment to a fictional show has become so strong that the feeling of leaving it behind would be too strong to ever stop watching it. So they'll just keep watching it over and over. And when they watch it more, their attachment will grow, and as their attachment grows, they have to keep watching. So to what other people may see as just a show that you really, really enjoy or that book you really, really love, might actually be a mechanism of preventing long-term sadness from leaving something behind that you've become attached to. So when I discovered this, the comfort show, and how this is created, I wanted to come out here and figure out a solution. I wanted Landon Qizilbash to step out here with 3 tips on how to remove your favorite TV show that you've become too attached to. But here's the thing. After learning about how this feeling is created, like what's going on in your brain when you create this attachment to fiction, I realized that maybe it doesn't need a solution. Like, I am not convinced that there's actually anything wrong with having a fictional world or a TV show that you return to for some of your social emotional needs. As long as it's not interrupting your work life or your social life, I have no place to say that it's actually harming you. So I'd say go ahead. Keep on watching your comfort show and your favorite TV shows. Let these characters become your friends, and let these places become your homes. Like, the point of fiction is to be there when the real world always can't. But to those of you who have something that you're attached to, some piece of fiction you return to, or some favorite game that you keep on playing, I want to give you guys not a solution, but something to think about. This is a popular quote from author and speaker Jim Rohn. He says, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with." Which is to say that the kind of person that you're shaped to become is influenced by the people that you choose to surround yourself with and create relationships with. And now this is not to say that watching your favorite TV show will turn you into your favorite characters. But if you have something that you continually return to, it's important to consider not only how it makes you feel, but how it may be affecting who you're becoming, or kind of the way that you think. So I know that it may be hard to distance yourself from a fictional world or a show that you've become attached to, especially since there's not always immediate consequences of it being there. But to those of you who have a comfort show, or have a favorite game, or have that one series that has become a part of your life, I want you to just ask yourself, what type of person is this shaping me to become? And am I satisfied with who that is? That's for you to decide. And that'll also be it for me. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.